Hello ladies and gentlemen, Matt the Editor here, and welcome to another edition of my Who Reviews. This week, it's episode 3, Rosa. Now, leading up to this episode, I had a couple of theories on what this episode was going to be, because honestly, I was both interested and not interested in this episode. Here are the reasons. Reason A, for the reason I was interested, was this episode was going to be written by Malorie Blackman. The only novel I've read of hers was Noughts and Crosses. While not much of a page-turner in my opinion, but Blackman is a writer who knows what message to tell the audience through her writing. And B, to focus on the character of Rosa Parks, a historical figure I am not too familiar with, but I do have a rough idea who and what this story is going to focus on. And leading up to this episode, I had a couple of theories on what this episode was going to be. It was either going to be a sort of average Doctor Who episode which takes place during the time of racism and slavery of some sort, or this was going to be an episode focused on Rosa Parks' personal life, kind of like how they did Vincent and the Doctor back in Series 5, which, as a lot of you know, was an example that Doctor Who didn't just have to be an adventure with monsters and evil villains and robots and bug-eyed monsters, but it can also be a historical story. So, now that's out of the way, did this episode fulfill my expectations? Well, I have to say I was 100% right. This is exactly as they did with Vincent and the Doctor. This episode focuses on the life of Rosa Parks, and honestly, if anyone was to write a serious subject matter story for Doctor Who, particularly on the discrimination and racism and hatred against coloured people, it's Malorie Blackman. As you can see, Malorie Blackman, and for some reason Chris Chibnall, had two tasks to accomplish. Educate the global audiences with the social context of the American Civil Rights Movement, as well as a Doctor Who adventure. And throughout this entire episode, I was entirely glued to the screen because, good God, I liked this episode. To start off, let's talk about the character this episode is meant to focus on, Rosa Parks. I don't know much about this person myself, but honestly, I was basically told that she was a black woman who got onto a white bus and started rights for the black band. But honestly, I think I have to give kudos to the casting team, because in my opinion, they picked a wonderful, decent actress to play this character. Vinette Robinson did a wonderful portrayal of Rosa Parks. We can see from her scenes that even though she seems well sophisticated, she is still a troubled, tortured woman. Much like Vincent and the Doctor, they showed off her personal life, which honestly was the best parts of this character. She had a good job. She seemed to be well respected in the first couple of scenes. We didn't get a lot of scenes with her in the civil rights scene, but I'll get to that later. But I imagine that is why they wanted the focus of the episode to focus on a small act of courage, a small event in history. Honestly, I think the best scenes with her, in my opinion, are when she's either with Ryan or Yasmin. She hires Ryan to be her coffee boy from the night, and when she introduces her team and her family to Ryan, I can see there's a forming friendship going in those scenes. Again, I'll get to that later. Of course, with Yasmin, when she's fixing the Doctor's code, and she listens to Yasmin's intentions of becoming a policeman, and when Yasmin asks her what is it that keeps her going, and she says that she promises herself that tomorrow will be better, that's something we could really think of throughout everyday life, because you could use that as an interpretation for work or home or your personal problems, your everyday life, or any bad situation that's happened. That line there, I think, was perfect. And honestly, the rest of the episode, I'm not kidding, I literally felt intense watching this episode. Particularly how the Doctor and the team had to get everything exactly right. They had to get the bus full, they had to get the right driver, they had to get Rosa in time. The stakes were even higher, and particularly on the scene where Ryan just offers to return a dropped handkerchief or pair of gloves that was dropped on the floor, and when he goes to give it back, the man just turns around and he just smacks him. And I just literally screamed, whoa! This episode, I'm not lying when I say this episode knows when to be harsh. And honestly, throughout the episode, I had no idea what was going to happen. And even to the part where they actually got back onto the bus, I literally just stopped and thought to myself, wait a minute, holy crap, did they just change history? Or are they part of history? And of course, it turns out they are part of history. And just the look on Graham's face where he realizes that he has to be part of this historical event, even though he doesn't want to, he has to. The look on his face, the pain and sadness and grief inside his face, and particularly with the doctor just having to force this man to be a part of this event, even if it means hurting this person that they helped throughout the episode, and then in the end they had to turn them down. Literally a heartbreaking moment. I think the doctor said it best in this episode. We're not here to change history, we're here to guard it. That is what the doctor does. That is what Time Lords do. They don't change history, they protect it. Just everything about the location, setting it in Alabama in the 1950s, is just so tough. Just everywhere you look on this location is just entirely harsh. Like for example, you go on the bus and there's literally seatings which say white or colored, or how everyone in the bar literally just stops what they're doing just to see Ryan and Yasmin sitting on the table together, and there's a lot of emotional, gut-wrenching moments. And then they play a pop song, and it killed them, and it just killed it. I still like the visuals, but I just wish that song wasn't used. It kind of killed the moment. If it was a well-known song, like a victory song that would have sang in that era, or just a simple piece of music, then maybe it could have worked better. I understand that they were trying to do what Vincent and the Doctor did with their emotional moment, and yeah, I can hear what the lyrics are saying in the song, but you can't do that with this type of song. I don't think this style of music worked for this scene. That's just a little nitpick. Characters. Let's talk about the characters. Of course, I'm going to start off with the best character in the entire series so far, Graham. Is there anything that man can do? Well, as I mentioned, he had his very, very sad emotional moments on the bus, but he still had his very funny moments. I legitimately like the scene where the Doctor and the team are hiding out in this hotel, and this American policeman comes in to check, and Graham and the Doctor had to pretend that they're a couple, and I literally like the moment where the cop just lives. He just puts his hand on the Doctor's shoulder, and the Doctor just looks disgusted. That is kind of funny. That was kind of funny. I even like that throughout the episode he distracts the policeman by pitching the idea for the mobile phone and pretending to be Steve Jobs. Was it a bit much? Maybe, but it was still kind of funny. I did laugh. Particularly when they start talking about Rosa Parks. Again, he brings Grace, the memories of Grace, back into the series. Why isn't Grace alive? Even throughout this episode, he mentions how Grace was inspired by Rosa Parks. Like he mentioned what Grace said about the bus driver, and she had a t-shirt that said "Spirit of Rosa," and just the way Graham said how he wishes she was there. And of course, I like the scenes where Graham is just basically messing around with the bus driver by bringing Ryan to the fishing, forcing him to get back to work. The other characters I think did pretty well. Ryan is definitely getting better throughout this series. As I mentioned before, I did like his scenes with Rosa Parks that I really wished it was explored a little more, kind of like how they did in Lost in Time and Torchwood, like particularly his scenes with Yasmin. Again, we're getting more scenes of Yasmin and Ryan talking about their past. Not bad, but I wish it was the main focus of each of the episodes. However, it works in this episode because it's set in a time where the black community are being mistreated, and they have no right or opportunity to step up and talk. She's just trying to get some development, but she's entirely blocked with the new Doctor and two, let's be honest, better characters. I mean, no offense to Mandeep Gill. I mean, she's a great actress, and we've got an interesting character, but she's just trying to get some screen time. I was really hoping she'd get more character development in this episode, but instead she's just pushed aside for Graham and Ryan, who honestly are much better characters than she is. Throughout this series so far, she's just kind of there. Okay, now I talked about the setting, I talked about the characters. I might as well talk about the stuff I really didn't like about this episode, and honestly, the one huge problem, the one nitpick I have with this episode is and that is the villain. I can't remember his name, but what is it with villains and their unusual names? Okay, so it turns out this guy is basically just, I'm guessing, was imprisoned in Storm Cage, but he escaped with a vortex manipulator and found this Artron energy device to go back in time and sort of switch things around. That's an interesting concept. I mean, I like the idea how you got this person with this sort of displacement device where you shoot at things that get thrown through time, through a different time zone using Artron energy. And even though he is trying to change Rosa Parks' history, he can't kill or injure anyone, even though he was close to actually killing the Doctor and the others. So, okay, honestly, throughout the entire episode, I had no idea exactly what's this guy's deal. What was his past crime? Why is he so prejudiced? Does his racism indicate that even in the enlightened future, humanity is still cruel or intolerant? I mean, what was the point of this character in this episode? I mean, yeah, I get it. You had to have a threat in the episode, and honestly, having a white supremacy type of character as your main villain in this sort of scenario could work, but again, with these villains, they are not developed, established, or explored well. This is literally the third time in a row where we could have had an interesting concept of a villain, but then it literally just disappears out of the narrative. Yeah, seriously, I'm not kidding. What seemed to be a confrontation between Ryan and his character, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be cool. I saw like a fist fight or something like that. But then Ryan just takes out the device, which, how did he get that device, and how did he know how to use it? And then he just used it on the villain. That was lame. That was so lame. I almost kind of think that Mallory Blackman had written a wonderful script, a wonderful story. But then when Chibnall got his hands all over and started reading through it, he thought, oh wait, hang on, we need to add in a thread. Okay, so let's add in this random character. There's something to it. Oh no, wait, we can't explore him too well, otherwise we're losing the main focus on the story, Rosa. Okay, let's just give him a lame climax. Guys, you really need to improve on your villains. That's one of the things I'm not liking about this series so far. I think Doctor Who is getting to a point where the entire team still need a further development in their stories. They need to, in my opinion, they need to be longer or have some scenes so that we can either leave some more room for more development. Like, for example, how did Ryan get that device? How did he know how to use it? Where did the villain go? And I'm not kidding, there was an amazing opportunity for Rosa Parks' story where Ryan decides to work for her team as a coffee maker. Imagine what scenes we would have had, like Ryan talking to the entire team, like we got with that Martin Luther King cameo, or perhaps form some sort of friendship between Rosa and Ryan. Also, if we got rid of that villain, we could have left more room to develop our companions. I don't think having a 45-minute run doesn't work when it comes to a team of companions. At least with the Sarah Jane Adventures, they had 2 episodes of each story to give each character an arc. I think Doctor Who needs to do the same. Either do 1 hour run of each episode, or do 2-part stories. That's all I'm saying. Now, I don't want to be this type of person, but I'm pretty sure this episode is going to get a few controversy from either fans or other viewers. For that, I only have this to say. It's just a television show. Also, you have to at least give the writer Mallory Blackman credit to actually including it, Chibnall for allowing it to be included, and for the BBC to actually get it transmitted on television. I mean, look at the discrimination we've got nowadays. We need more stories like this. Like Vincent and the Doctor, Rosa is Doctor Who at its best. Science fiction as relevant exploration of the human condition. You don't believe me? Look at the end credits. There's literally a section where they had a South African crew team. That right there is just amazing. So after all of that, here is my conclusion. Well, the episode didn't really surprise me since we saw something like that before with Vincent and the Doctor, but I was still really fixed with the look of this episode. The story is interesting and powerful, especially with its harsh world realities. While I will admit the villain is still an issue and some parts of the episode either needed to be longer, improved or removed due to plot relevance or to add in more character development, but it's still a unique, intense and powerful story. This is by far the best episode of the series so far. Every character had their developing moments, and it had a wonderful story to tell, and you can see that through the wonderful production team to create such a story that focused on one small act of courage that literally changed the world. I give this episode 8 out of 10. Be sure to leave a comment, like and share this video, and if you have seen the episode, what did you think about it? And if you'd like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. But first, I need to prepare myself for next week's episode because we've got giant spiders on the way and I need to be prepared.